Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Barbara Worcester. I am the Revenue Customer Service Manager for the town of Hilton Head Island. I want to thank you for taking the time out to come. As you can tell, I'm not from here. I come from Long Island, and like many of you, I came to visit and then fell in love with the island and fell in love with the quality of life and what we have to offer here. And within that same vein, Town Council got together and discussed the short-term rentals and decided that it was time to change the way short-term rentals operate in a way so that we can maintain the beauty that we have for future generations. Most of you, by being here already, show us that you are, caring and responsible owners. Most of the things you're going to find that you hear about today, you probably already do as being a responsible owner. Some things may be new to you, but we're here to help you. So what we're going to talk about today is the ordinance, the new short-term permit that is required, short-term rental regulations, which include parking, trash, noise, and safety issues. I'll also be discussing our new permit portal and discussing site plans for any of those who have single-family residence as that is required. We'll get into that a little bit as we go further. In May of 2022, Town Council got together and passed this new ordinance. The ordinance applies to privately owned residential properties rented to visitors less than 30 days. That is considered short-term for the permitting part. The town will begin enforcement January. Our new portal will not be available until January 3rd of 2023, which is when, starting then, is when you can apply. It's a completely paperless system, which I'll get into a little bit later. So we hope that you'll find it very easy to navigate. So some of the short-term regulations. The ordinance addresses different items. It discusses permits, licenses, fees, and taxes. What other licenses are required? For a short-term rental owner, you have to have a business license, which is as of January 1st, 2022. The South Carolina legislature passed Act 176, which now requires any owner to obtain a business license. In addition, if you rent on your own or with a non-licensed property management company, such as Airbnb, you are responsible to collect and submit the local 3% accommodation tax. If you use a licensed property management company, they do collect and remit on your behalf. If you are not sure whether or not your company is licensed with us, feel free to call us. We'll be more than happy to check for you and confirm that they are, in fact, collecting and submitting on your behalf. In addition, the ordinance covers parking. No longer will we allow parking on grass or pine straw. We're also discussing trash storage and removal, noise management. We like to remind everybody that the town does have a quiet time from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. We'll also be discussing complaint tracking and response, including any violations. The fee is established by Town Council every year. They will review and discuss each year what the fee will be. For 2023, the permit fee is $250 for each property. Therefore, if you own 10 properties, you will need to obtain 10 permits. Unlike the business license, where you just need one license for all your properties. I know it's a little confusing. If you have any questions, feel free to ask at the end, and we'll be more than happy to assist you with that. The fee is limited to covering the costs for us to investigate, find anybody else that is non-compliant. We want everybody to be on the same playing field. You're being compliant. We want to be sure that your neighbor next door is following the rules as well. So part of this fee will cover identifying short-term properties, ensuring compliance, and of course permitting and addressing any violations that may come. The short-term permits are valid from January 1st to December 31st. They are non-transferable. Therefore, if you do sell your property mid-year, the new owner will need to obtain his or her own short-term rental permit. We ask that the owners inform us if there is any change to your status. In other words, if you have sold it or you're no longer renting, this way we can update your account appropriately. General regulations, these are pretty easy again, and you probably already do so. Short-term owner or short-term rental agent. Who is a short-term rental agent? It could be anybody that you deem appropriate. It could be your property management company, if you have such a agreement with them. It could be a neighbor, it could be yourself. Somebody has to be available at all times by telephone and available within 1 hour to take responsive action. Responsive action would include calling your guests to let them know that maybe there was a complaint, let's say, about noise. As long as you take some sort of responsive action within 1 hour, you are compliant with the ordinance. In addition, we're asking that the owners post their name, their name, email, and phone number, and/or the short-term rental agent, and make sure it is displayed and visible at all times for your guests. I know some people have a binder that they keep, that they provide to their guests. Something like that would comply with our requirements. Parking regulations. This is new this year. Each time you rent to a guest, you must designate how many parking spots are available. Each parking spot must be at least 9 feet by 18 feet and must be an improved surface. Again, no longer counting pine straw or grass as a parking spot. We want to ensure that we no longer have people parking on other people's properties, in the streets, where they don't belong. Trash regulations. And again, some of this may or may not apply to you. We do realize that some people live in villas or condo complexes, and a lot of these things either don't apply or are already taken care of for you, such as the trash. You may have a designated area on the complex that would meet these requirements. If you are a single-family dwelling, you do have to have your trash storage. It must be fenced or screened and not visible from the street or a neighboring yard. In addition, we're asking you to inform your guests of the trash pickup and drop-off times. In other words, we do not want your guests putting the trash down to the curb more than 24 hours prior to pickup, and not to leave it there longer than 24 hours after pickup. Noise regulations. As I mentioned earlier, we want to remind everyone that the town does have a quiet time from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. We do ask that you post this noise ordinance for your guests so that they are aware of the noise ordinance. You will find, we placed a packet in the back of the room. You will find in the packet there is a template that you can use to fulfill these requirements of items that need to be posted, such as the noise ordinance. You'll find it's already listed on that template, and then you can simply fill in your name and your contact information, as well as the trash information. Filling that out and supplying that to your guests will fulfill these requirements. Safety regulations. And again, some of these you may already have, but the owner shall maintain a fully operable building and fire code compliant smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. I know there's a lot of questions about whether or not you are in a development where there is no gas whatsoever. I would defer you to our Deputy Fire Marshal, Russell Rogers, for any questions regarding this. But keep in mind, many people have a barbecue or a gas fireplace or gas heaters for their pools and don't realize that that could be an issue as well. In addition, you need to have at least one, and I say at least one, fully operable and charged fire extinguisher. In addition, we're asking that you maintain unobstructed routes so that in the event of a fire emergency, the fire staff can get through. We don't want any bunk beds against a doorway or against a windowway where it obstructs entrance or exit to get out. In addition, prior to making any arrangements with your guests, we ask that you inform them about whether or not you have a pool and/or a hot tub. In addition, we ask that you let them know what, if any, safety materials are in place. What do I mean? In other words, is it fenced in, the pool? Is there a gate? Is there a lock? Is there an alarm? Or is it just open in your backyard? This way your guests are informed and they can make the decision whether or not it's right for them to stay. Miscellaneous regulations. We ask that if we have town outreach awareness materials, that you post them. For an example, we have put together what we call our Good Neighbor brochure. You'll find it on the website in the next 2 weeks, which you can print out and post to your guests. You'll find everything that you want your guests to know about Hilton Head on this form. It talks about the sea turtle nesting time periods. It talks about walking your dog with or without a leash, what times are appropriate, and other items like that that is important for your guests to know. In addition, we ask that, and again, this is something I'm sure you already do, but we want to be sure that all owners maintain and properly inspect their units. Be sure that they comply with all these requirements. Inspecting your unit includes checking your batteries in your fire detectors and your carbon monoxide detectors, and checking your fire extinguishers. Starting January 3rd, 2023, we will have our live portal, will be live, and that is how you will apply and print out your permit. It's completely paperless. We have joined with a company called GovOS, who will help us monitor and issue all these permits. Online, you will be able to make any changes to your account that you need to, and any updates. If you want to, you may have your property management company apply for the permit on your behalf. That's certainly acceptable. We will also have a customer service support center to assist you with permitting questions. In addition, we have full staff ready to help you with any questions as they may arise. In addition to the short-term rental portal, GovOS will provide customer services, and it will provide a 24/7 complaint hotline with dedicated live operators. So you can either call anonymously, or you can fill out a complaint form with your name and address, and we will follow up appropriately. Obviously, if it is an emergency, you would dial 911 and you would not contact the hotline. In addition, GovOS customer support will contact the short-term rental property owner and let them know what the issue is to try to resolve any issues. If anything escalates, we will follow up with town's code enforcement. We have dedicated staff just to this. So if there are any violations that arise, the code enforcement department is ready to access it. At this time, we're really looking just to get everybody compliant. We're not looking to issue violations and so forth. We're looking for voluntary compliance, and we will work with you to become compliant. Single-family dwellings is a little different than those in a villa or a condo. Anyone with a single-family dwelling must provide a site plan. A site plan will be reviewed by town staff for approval. Site plans are a simple map that shows where your house is, the parking area, and where your trash is. Now, we realize that not all of you may either have one or know how to complete one, so we've actually, the town staff has created an app, which you will find when you apply, with 3 simple steps for you to create your own site plan. And then you'll save it onto your device and then upload it when you complete your application. If you have any concerns, we have GIS staff members ready to help you. We've actually hired 3 full-time staff members to also assist with any issues you may have. What else is required to operate a short-term rental with the town of Hilton Head? Like I mentioned earlier, the Act 176 was passed by the South Carolina legislature, which now requires any owner who operates a short-term rental to obtain a business license. Business license is an annual fee. It is due by April 30th of each year, and it's based on gross income. A little different than the permit, which expires by the calendar year from January 1st to December 31st. In addition, you may have local accommodation tax and fees that are due. You should be collecting a total of 10% from your guests. 7% should go to the state of South Carolina, and 3% is the local accommodation tax that comes directly to the town. Like I mentioned earlier, if you contracted with a property management company, and there are many reputable companies out there, part of your contract may be that they collect and submit this tax on your behalf. If you rent with a non-licensed company, such as Airbnb, it is your responsibility to collect that 3% and submit it to us. If you feel that you may owe some tax and that you used Airbnb, or perhaps you rented on your own, come see us. We'll assist you. We're working to get you compliant. We will withhold penalty at this time. So come see me if you have any issues, if you feel that you owe tax. And finally, we want to make sure that you all know, we realize it's been a lot of things in the last 2 years. Last year was the business license. This year was the permit. So we are here to help you with any concerns, any questions you have. As you see, we've got a big staff here ready to help with any questions you may have. And you can always reach out to me. My number and my email's there. If you have any questions regarding the site plan, our GIS department has staff dedicated and ready to help you as well. And with that, I will open the floor to any questions. Yes, ma'am. Could you come up to the podium, please? Sorry.
Hello, I'm Lori Glasscock. I have one in Captain's Walk and one in Windsor's Place. I actually talked to the lady 2 days ago, and she said I was completely in compliance. But I just had one question. It says regularly inspect our properties. How many times a year would you consider regularly?
We would consider what we would think would be reasonable. In other words, at least once a year that you're checking your property to be sure that, in other words, the batteries are right on, correct, up to date, excuse me, haven't expired, things like that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I always have a question, I'm sorry.
You're always welcome.
It's actually for Russell. Can you clarify what needs to be in the property as far as an escape route plan? Does something have to be posted within the property on the fire safety side?
You do not have to post anything, but you just need to have escape routes available. So what we're looking for is places that like have a window blocked by a bunk bed, or maybe have a decreased egress path down a set of stairs because they store something on the set of stairs. We're looking to make it very easy for your guests to be able to find those two ways out of every room and sleeping quarter.
Carbon monoxide detectors. If I have a place in Shipyard and also Seascape, there's no gas anywhere. Do we still need carbon monoxide?
Great question, probably the number one question we're getting right now. Just because you don't have LP gas in your property, if you have an attached garage, that means the garage is not open air. So like some condos are above an open air parking area, but attached garage, wood burning fireplace, gas logs, any kind of gas appliance, all those things would apply. Then you do not need one, correct.
Yes, are the hotels paying any of this extra tax?
Well, hotels are responsible to collect and submit the same accommodation taxes that you are required to. So there are taxes, but this permit is solely for short-term rentals.
Oh, so they're not paying any $250
They don't have a
unit?
don't have a permit requirement. No, sir.
Okay. To me, it seems a little bit like askew. Eventually, I'm going to be a full-time resident, like probably most of you are, and I know what my taxes are on my place versus if I was a homesteaded permanent resident, and it's a huge amount. And I agree with all the things that we're doing here to make our neighborhoods much more fun and a lot less problems. So I agree with all the things that we're doing, but like with our taxes, it's sort of like, it seems to me like taxation without representation. In other words, until I become a full-time resident here, I don't vote for any of these issues or ordinances or the people that enact these things, but the homeowners that are here do, okay? And a lot of our homeowners don't realize I mean, everybody complains about short-term rental people, okay? And a lot of times they don't realize that those short-term rental people are making their costs to live on this beautiful place a real bargain. And then the short-term rental people just keep paying and paying and paying. And I didn't think that, like, the Marriott next to me, I live at Villamar. I didn't think the Marriott next to me is paying an extra $250 per hotel room, right? No. And in our place, I don't know if you're aware of it, the Marriott used to be a Hyatt Regency. Our complex was actually built by the Hyatt Regency. And so our place used to be a Hyatt Regency. So the Marriott right next to me isn't paying any of these things, and we are. And just like taxes, we're paying the lion's share or a huge difference between a homeowner and the people that want these changes in effect don't realize that this is sort of like the golden goose. But I think that we should have a little bit more input on any changes or taxes.
You know what I recommend? Because it took a while to get this ordinance done, and maybe you just weren't aware of it. But on our website, there's a spot on the bottom where you can be part of an email chain that will update you of any upcoming meetings, in other words, any discussions that come for anything further. And that'd be the best way for you to get involved. And with your town council member would be your next step as they do decide all this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know this is more of a, I guess, questions on the procedures and so forth, but I'd like to kind of piggyback on what this gentleman is saying. You know, in gated communities, we already have regulations. We have our own security forces and so forth. This is just a doubling up on what we have, and we're paying for it, which doesn't make a bit of sense. And number two is, when we have an issue in our community, if you call the town of Hilton Head, they'll say, we don't want to touch it because it's private property. But yet, you're going to come into private property and regulate us when we're already regulated. That seems like a double standard, and I'm sure you've had this question before.
Well, town ordinance supersedes your homeowners association or POA. So we do have the authority to come in and enforce, but I would imagine you know, unless you use GovOS, it's going to be handled by your security as it has been.
But what about on the security? Why wouldn't they come in on security issues? Okay, on security.
Security issues, that would be the sheriff's office at that point.
Okay.
Okay.
But a lot of times they will also say this is private property. It has to be worked out accordingly as well.
That would depend on the alleged violation too.
Okay.
Okay, if a crime is committed, the sheriff's office will deal with it. If a code is violated,
I'll jump back to it a second and leave it at that. Is why the doubling up on the regulations?
I can't answer that question.
That would be your town council member?
I've written
to
and got
discuss.
no response.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Definitely your elected representative.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I'm in Shipyard, and I just have a question about the trash regulation. Where I am in Kingston Cove, the trash cans are basically underneath the steps under the house. It's not fenced. Does that, you can't really see it, you know, unless you're
That big?
looking. And the trash gets put out. You know, they come under there to pick the trash up. We don't put it out at the curb.
It's part of a condo, or you?
There's an HOA. I don't know. You know, it's a single family.
And it goes back to the code would supersede the HOA at that point, but unless we get a complaint and, you know, it's obvious to your neighbors or obvious from the street, there wouldn't be a complaint at all anyway.
In other words, the complex has a set trash area, is that what you're saying?
Well, I just bought in here
Okay.
6 months ago, but all the trash cans, they're all single-family homes in there.
Right.
In that little Kingston Cove. The trash cans are underneath the steps, the house is raised up on the second floor over the pillars. The trash cans sit behind there. The trash people go back and pick the trash up and put them back. We don't do that. I don't know if that's, you know, who regulates that? If that's the POA or if that's the township or whatever, I assume that's still going to continue that way?
Right. However your trash is picked up,
Okay.
it will remain, whatever contract you have.
Probably, okay, I think it's probably fine the way it is my guess.
It sounds like it is because it's got a designated area.
For the record, I'm also opposed to any further government regulation, but I know that's a losing cause and this isn't the place for it, but
We understand. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? All right, well, we appreciate your time. If you have any questions as you get started, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist you in any way we can. All right? Thank you for taking the time out and for being such good, responsible renters. Thank you.